Today we thought that it would be a good idea to chat to Charlotte Jean, who is both a nutritionist and a Pilates instructor, about the link between these two factors, and also to highlight the importance of healthy movement in our lives. Welcome, Charlotte. Lovely to have you back. It's been a while.
Thank you.
Now, Charlotte, movement, exercise, I think we certainly talk about it all the time on the show, as I stated. But for a lot of people, exercise is a scary thing, and sometimes that leads them to not even go near it. But from the essence of movement, what is the importance? Why is it so important that we move in our lives?
So the human body has a wonderful definition. It's a system of levers designed for movement. So the moment we don't move, our body registers that there's something wrong, and it begins manifesting disease, dysfunction, atrophy. So that's why I always like to talk about movement versus exercise.
Right.
Because if you can just make sure that you stay active in healthy ways, as opposed to feeling stressed out about a gym routine you don't enjoy, doing types of exercise that are not appealing to you, then you'll get the right value from that whole process of just staying active.
Yeah. And I mean, when you think about it, movement is part of our lives. If we go shopping, we're moving. If we go to work, we're moving. When we get to work, often we sit behind a computer and stop moving. But we are built to move. And I mean, in days gone by, if you think way back, we were moving a lot more incidentally. That's gone. How has that impacted us?
So you find now that even our exercises that we do are very repetitive. So if you go to gym, there's a program, but the program is not designed to mimic natural movement. That's where things like the Alexander technique came in and said, we need to remember how we used to move. We used to be in the fields, growing our own food, making our own clothes, cleaning our own homes. And so the way that we move needs to actually go back to the ancient beginnings and not try and bring in artificial exercises to create muscles that we don't need, but rather strengthen the body for a sustainable level of strength and fitness that we need for our everyday lives.
Okay. So you mentioned gym there, and you mentioned the repetitiveness of the kind of exercises that we're doing. Are they actually useful, or are they potentially harmful in the methodologies that we're employing so often?
I think most biokineticists and physiotherapists would say that they are harmful, and I think that's why they have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
We notice that if we can just take a step back and look at the human body in a very nurturing and holistic way, instead of a way that is being pressurized by an image, a mass media image that's saying a female form has to look this way, a male form has to look this way, then we start to appreciate what an individual physicality needs to be. So your physicality is different to someone else's based on your age, your genetic factors. So to really get back into tune with what we need as individuals, as opposed to just a one-size-fits-all gym program or a new trend, and there's so many.
How do you get a sustainable movement, if I can call it cycle, into your life that is really in the long term manageable and can achieve what you're aiming at?
You know, there's a beautiful quote that I always come back to that says, first know yourself. If we know who we are as people, for example, some people need to perspire. They need to get their heart rate up. They experience a lot of relief, a lot of catharsis from lots of challenging exercise. I'm just going to say movement. They really, really need that. They benefit from it. But there are other people that don't. Their body actually goes into a kind of a shock because they weren't designed to perspire that much. So if we know who we are, a little bit of testing to find out what somatotype you are. So mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorph, there's variations. What genotype you are, which one you fit in, and also the requirements of your daily life. If I live and work on a farm, I'm going to have different energy requirements and different strength requirements in my body. My body is also going to look quite different from, let's say, being a flower arranger, or someone working in an office. But there's a general level of fitness that we all need to at least aspire to. And it's understanding those factors and how they work together that actually helps me then to work out what do I need every day.
Yes, absolutely. What would the process be if I now know that I need to do something, to find those factors and understand those factors that would influence how I exercise?
Well, there's 3 very easy things. The first is to remember how we felt when we were children.
Right.
So did we like to do long running, sort of your long distance running? Did we prefer sports that required a lot of dexterity? Were we someone who liked the short bursts?
Yes.
Someone who preferred to be a plodder, a fast runner, and more a sports person? So go back to your predisposition as a child, because that was your most natural setting.
Okay.
Remember that as an adult, you can acquire skills and make changes, but you need to honor your natural setting. So the way that we behaved as children is largely the way that we should be responding as adults.
Yes.
So if I enjoyed sports as a child, there's a good idea that I still need to play sports as an adult. If I didn't, then I haven't changed significantly to welcome sports into my life, and it's more of an irritation and I get stressed thinking about it, then that's not the best way for me to move. It's not the best way for me to encourage movement. The second is to know the kind of body type that you and I have. And it's very easy. I'm not going to refer to all the big search engines, but you can go and look it up. It's called somatotypes. It's your mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorph, and there are also variations.
Okay.
And then looking at the bone density profile. So you can just take your thumb and your third finger and put it right underneath your elbow or your wrist, and then just measure where does the thumb and the third finger touch. Do they touch? Do they overlap? And that'll tell you, do you have fine bone density, medium? So those are easy things that you can do at home. You don't need to go and pay for a medical test.
Right.
And then the third aspect that is so important is knowing your genotype, knowing where you sit in terms of your genetic structure.
Okay.
And the kind of blood pathology that you have, the way that your body was nurtured over time in the womb, then starts to help you to understand what kind of movement restrictions do you have naturally, and what kind of movement challenges do you need to give yourself. And if all else fails, ask yourself, when do I feel good? What types of movement make me feel really good? And which ones do I just feel are boring, they are draining, I'm irritated, I'm thinking about reading the newspaper when I'm doing this. So those are really good questions to help us.
I love the fact that it's about you and what works for you. So Charlotte, thank you so much for coming and sharing a little bit of insight. We can delve deeper into this one again, I'm sure, but for now, I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.